In the upcoming years, there will be major changes in law and justice services provided by the county. Recently, we spoke with Amber Emery, Deputy County Manager, to get an overview of these revisions and how facilities and services will be impacted.
Hello, I'm Jim Demon with Clark County Close-Up. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thanks for having me again, Jim.
So back in November 2022, we interviewed you as you transitioned from the District Court Administrator to the County Deputy Manager. Mm-hmm. Around that time, also, the jail services was spun off from the Sheriff's Office. This was the first of what appeared to be a number of major changes in law and justice services. What are some of the underlying issues why law and justice services need to change? Is it population growth, state requirements, funding?
I think it's all three, really. And we have, for the first time, been able to look at strategic planning going forward, look at future planning. Our population has put it's a large consumer for, as population grows, law and justice services need to be evaluated and expanded. So we have really looked at that through all the operations. Those are a lot of elected officials' offices, so we've partnered as the executive office with those, with the judicial offices and others to look at what their long-term needs are. So I think it's a little bit of both. All three, that the legislative can change at any point, in those sessions, and we need to be able to be agile and flexible when we implement those.
Okay. So how much of the county budget is dedicated to law and justice?
So out of our general fund, which is about $202 million for 2024, we have approximately 70% of that is law and justice related funding. And I will note that the county pays for most of law and justice for regional services. There's very little that the cities contribute just based on funding mechanisms, and that is usually picked up by the county. So it's a large portion of our general fund.
Okay. But
yes,
any changes that you do impact these jurisdictions.
They do, and I know that all the elected offices, the judicial offices, they keep that in mind with the stakeholders to discuss that before they make any big changes. But yeah, I mean, when you impact one, it impacts all. And I think we really look at that when we're looking at any changes with this, with law and justice, we have to take everybody into account when you're doing those changes.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, jail services was transitioned out of the Sheriff's Office
Yes.
a couple years ago. How has this transition impacted services and efficiency?
Good question. So we have hit all of our goals that I mentioned in November when I met with you last time, of giving jail services the independence, the ability to look at facility improvements, the ability to hire. We have the most staff on record for the last 20 years. So we have done, the recruitment team has done a tremendous job doing the recruitment and getting the staffing levels up that we haven't seen for decades. And I think it also, as I mentioned back in November, it really gives the sheriff the ability to focus on enforcement. He had a huge program rollout with the body cameras. He's been able to focus on that, get his team going, and this has allowed the jail to be independent and make some efficiencies, changes. We changed the booking levels that hadn't been changed in 20 to 30 years. It's been a long, long time to allow more criminal livability crimes to be booked into the jail. Really listening to our chiefs and the sheriff about what they need from their law enforcement on the ground. And so that was a major change. So we've gained a lot of efficiencies that have allowed that team to be independent to make those decisions.
Wonderful. So the other big change, why is the county launching a public defense office? How has this been handled in the past, and when do you anticipate this new department to start?
Great question. So we were the fifth largest county in the state. We were the only one without a centralized public defense office. So that means county attorneys, in-house attorneys that are doing public defense for your felony and misdemeanor. So we went to council. We did a lot of workshops with council, work sessions to talk about what this looks like from services. We brought in stakeholders, the judicial bench, everything to the table, defense contractors that we had contracted with to show how this would gain efficiencies. You'd have a localized policy office that would work on all the policy. That's disconjointed right now. That's spread out through all the contractors. We have been extremely, I want to emphasize that, extremely lucky in our community to have the dedicated defense bar that we've had through the last 30 years that we've done the contract model. And we pay hourly. So when you look at expense and ongoing and the law and justice services growing, we can't sustain that way. So it was time to pivot and really look at how we gain efficiencies from bringing this in-house, how we grow this office, and then very much like the standardization that brings to the table when reviewing cases. And that was our main driver for that.
When do you anticipate it launching?
So our new director, Mr. Swaby, will start in July 1st.
Okay.
We're going to be posting some attorney positions through the month of June to get that office going. The county council gave ARPA funding to us to start the positions, and then we'll transition the contracts over from that as we bring attorneys on to handle the felony cases. We are not touching the misdemeanor cases right now. That will impact the cities the cities do the misdemeanor cases, so we will not touch that at the moment. We're going to focus fully on felonies and getting that as part of the office ready to go.
Okay. So the county is planning on some major facility moves with the courts.
Yes.
Can you outline some of the major changes in the next couple of years?
Yes. So we announced, I think it was last week, that the district court will be moving over to the old City Hall building on 13th.
Yeah, I'm surprised, yes.
And we were able to look at, so Superior Court Family Law Annex, which is down not too far from here, that lease is ending at the end of 2025. So we had to pivot and say, okay, what can we do? CJC was so Children's Justice Center was also located in there. We need to find a new place. We leased 13th for 20 years for those two areas, and it just early on we could see that it was not going to work with those two in the courthouse. Just the way that it was laid out, it didn't gain efficiencies for the two. So we were able to kind of come back to the drawing board and see which of the justice services would fit in there, what would make the most sense. We found a home for Children's Justice Center in one of our other locations, and they'll be able to do what they need to do for their growth. And then District Court will be moving to the City Hall building, and that will move really all of District Court's services except for probation and pretrial in one building. And it will also move most of the Superior Court stuff to one building. So that will be efficient for access to justice for the public, be able to go to one facility for one and one facility for the other. So the judicial benches were really supportive of both of those moves. Yes.
Okay. There's been a lot of talk over the years, I've done many interviews, regarding remodeling or replacing the current jail. Where are we currently with the discussions and any immediate plans?
Yes. So we have completed pre-design. We went through the stakeholder process. We've talked to 17 stakeholder groups through the process, took in all the recommendations from CFAC, used all that 18 months of hard work that went into that, built our process on that, talked to 17 new stakeholder groups. So we're done with pre-design. It will come back in front of council in June to talk about design and the funding mechanisms that will be needed if the council decides to go that way. So we were making really great progress with getting some options to council to see how they want to go forward.
So is this a remodel?
Remodel and expansion.
Remodel and expansion.
Yes, because I will note that our population for the jail is changing so drastically. When CFAC was done, it was really...
What was that, CFAC?
CFAC, so it was the Corrections Facility Advisory Commission, and the mayor and your city manager sat on that, and a lot of other stakeholders. They did 18 months review pre-COVID. So as we know, the world changed, especially in the correctional facilities with COVID, and our population's different. We have substance abuse like never seen before. We have lots of mental health issues that are in the jail, and we really want to be able to give services, and that was one of our main goals for jail services, is how do we bring mental health services into the jail, detox treatments, anything that we can do while people are awaiting their case to be heard through the justice system. How can we make impact to people's lives in the jail? And a new facility expansion to the remodel in our footprint will allow us to do those services in a much better way for our community.
Okay. What about the changes to the jail work center?
Yes, so we are in permitting with the city right now about the expansion that we'll have out there. And what that will look like, it's a medium security facility.
And this is out by the port?
Correct, yes.
Port of Vancouver
yes.
property? Okay.
And we already have, Crisis is already out there. They're in a building, Crisis Services, and then we have a footprint out there already for our laundry and food, as well as our training is out there at that facility. And so this medium security facility, the beds that we're looking to add on, so it's 64 beds. That'll give immediate relief for the law enforcement. We are out of space in our current facility. We're renting 15 beds in Skamania every single day. That's a huge expense that the county is is doing right now. We got approved for that for the end of the year to give relief to the law enforcement to be able to get people in the door if they choose to do so. So that will give us relief right away, and that's slated to be completed middle of 2025, so it's a really quick turnaround. That'll give us relief. It'll also give us place to house folks when we do the renovation, because we can't have people in the building, of course, when we're doing renovation. So that will give us the relief valve if we choose to do that in phases, which will look like we will need to do.
Good.
Yes.
I know there are more changes, like we talked about the implementation of body cams.
Yes.
What are some of the major changes in law and justice that I've missed in the near future?
So I think it's a area that we're always looking at improvements. A lot of we have a Law and Justice Council that meets once a month to talk about what we can do differently as the community to look at how we enter restoration's a big one right now for the state, of how folks go up to Western State Hospital for restoration.
And what is restoration?
Restoration is when someone's charged with a crime, and then they have mental health issues and cannot help with their defense or any of those things. So they need to be restored before they can go through the criminal justice process. There's a huge backlog with the Western State and Eastern State hospitals right now, and that creates a ripple effect through our jail because folks are housed there longer. And there's various things that we're working on about that, any efficiencies that we can find. So we have a really dedicated law and justice community that puts all of our minds together to ways that we can tackle these big problems that we have. And I'm sure with the legislature season kicking up, there'll probably be more changes, and really it's us looking at the future right now and how we can tackle with our population changes the way that they are, and how we can efficiently give services.
Great. So if people want some more information about these changes, can they reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And so the county manager's office, 564-397-2232, and they can also check clark.wa.gov /county manager.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much for meeting with
Jim,
us.
for having me.